We got a GEOTAB Go9 with a Y cable to install here today. Got a Jeep. This is the factory OBDII plug. This is a very simple install, but there are ways to mess it up. First thing you're gonna wanna do is, it's December now, December 2024, so you're gonna wanna change the radio station to whatever local station's playing Christmas music. That's the most important part of the install for today, and leave it on for the driver so they can appreciate you and not be a Grinch. So here's the Y cable that GEOTAB provides, the universal Y cable. Mistake number one is the unit gets plugged in here to this side. Mistake number one is to just straight up plug this directly into the OBDII port and then just zip tie everything up and call it a day and plug the unit in here. I know that seems incredibly stupid, and why would anyone do that? I have seen it. Mistake number two is not using these properly. Here are the clips that come with the installation kit. You want to match the factory plug with the right clip. Again, you shouldn't see any visible signs. I think this is the one that we're using, but I'll confirm when I pull out the factory plug. You shouldn't see any visible signs of an installation by the time you're done. All right, so I've removed this plug by depressing the side clips on these Jeeps. This just pops out. Be very careful with that. So let's look at what style is. See how it's got the two depression clips on the sides, and it's got those 4 tabs. So if we look at, I was right, but let's look at some of the other ones. You just want to match the, okay, so here's one with 2 depression clips. This kind of gets confusing sometimes, but if you look, it doesn't have the 4 tabs. You know, if the kit doesn't include it, well, you just do the best you can, but this kit has 2 with those depression tabs on it, and this one has the 4. This one looks most similar to the factory plug, so this is what we're going to use. So now this slides on here, and then you plug this into the Y cable. Boom, got the clip installed. This is going to get plugged into the factory OBDII. This is going to replace the factory OBDII. This is the Y cable plugged into the factory OBDII plug. And you want to secure this with a zip tie. Now, there's many ways to do this, but this is my favorite way. You actually do need to exercise caution when you do this to ensure that your zip tie is not putting any strain or pressure on any of these pins. You don't want to pinch them. You don't want to rely on those for put any strain on them whatsoever. So I like to use these 2 grooves here, go in between them and over the top and around and under this lip right here. If you want to go the extra mile, you can do the same thing on the other side, cross it over, but I typically find 1 is adequate for my needs. But you do actually need to pay a little bit of attention to this. I don't like to take it over the top, even if I use a thin zip tie like this. I don't like to take it over the top and between the wires, because again, to me, it's just too risky to put some strain accidentally on the wires. I prefer something like this to where there's no strain on any pins. I'm not risking anything, but that keeps that connection together very nicely. And this is gonna get buried up in the dash. This is now going to go where the factory OBDII plug was. All right, so I put our plug right here, clicked it into place. Looks factory. Notice you will not see anything to do with the installation when you're done here. Always be careful when you're working around the airbag. The cable comes up in here. I am going to zip tie all of this up in there and find a good place for the unit now. I'm going to look behind here to see if I can find a better place for the unit. You want to be as high in the dashboard as possible with the proper orientation of the unit. All right, I got the Go9 plugged in. These lights are going to light up after it goes through its boot up sequence. Got a zip tie around it. GEOTAB makes a nice little groove here in the holder. So, all right, popping this off, there isn't a lot of space. There isn't a lot of stuff to do around here. So, and again, going back to what I said earlier, people mess up, installers mess up, or customers self-install. When I said they don't use that clip, you might be asking yourself, well, what alternative is there? Well, for a professional installer, there isn't one. You got to use the clip. You got to make it look factory, make it look OEM. But what I've seen people do is they'll just push through this plug without the clip, and they'll just zip tie it somewhere for a mechanic if they're nice, or they're just gonna bury it up in here and leave this, you know, gaping hole right here where a mechanic's gonna have to hunt around to find the OBDII plug. So don't do either of those. That's not a professional install, and that's a dumb way to do a very simple install. So where I'm gonna put the unit is on a metal bracket that you can't really see up in here. I'm gonna put it above the metal bracket, and I'm gonna zip tie it to it. It's gonna be up here in this area. All right, so as you zip tie everything up in here, this is zip tied back here by the fuse panel. All my wires are secured. You can't really see the unit, like I said, because it's way up there above this metal bracket. I just reached up and zip tied it up there. You can hear it beeping a little bit as it boots up. Yeah, make sure you put all the wires back, especially when you have a moving component such as this, because you will want to make sure that you're not going to obstruct anything in, you know, how this thing. In fact, honestly, I feel like it's hitting my cable, so I'm going to redo my wiring.
For this particular installation in this Jeep, here's a photo of how I rerouted the harness to avoid the storage pocket, as well as where I mounted the unit. I wanted to take this opportunity to address NFC readers, which are a common add-on with these GEOTAB systems. Here are some images with recommended mounting locations for the card reader. Always approve the location with the driver or fleet manager. If you come in with your cable from the steering column area, make sure you secure your cable far away from moving parts. If you come in with your cable from underneath the knee plate, be sure to use extra zip ties to secure the harness so it can't drop down by the driver's feet. Each method has its advantages and risks. If using screws to secure the NFC holder, triple check that you have open areas behind the drill surface free of wires or electronics. The add-on cable plugs in via USB to the Go9 device. The USB mini plug has a zip tie groove, but be careful not to over-tighten the zip tie as it will start to bend the USB connection. You can see the USB connection coming off the side of the Go9 in these photos. As always, follow the manufacturer's installation guides, including directions on plugging in the add-ons before powering up the device.
But make sure that it's all secure, zip tied, nothing's loose. This looks factory, this OBDII plug. Once I pop this panel back on, there's no visible evidence of any installation. So that's the right way to do it.